So under announcements, probably. I don't know. I can barely remember what I did this morning, so I've been up since 4:30. Yeah, it's the only time I can go to the gym. So I go to the gym for like 2 hours, and then it's time to myself. I need it. I really need it. Yeah. I took a poll on Facebook yesterday because I had both kids by myself all afternoon for like 5 hours. I took a poll amongst all my friends and family that have little kids. I was like, when is it too early to start drinking in the day? Because it's like 2 o'clock and I feel the need. I feel the need. My daughter would not stay in her room during quiet time. I'm just like, you have to be in here. It's been like forever. It's been 20 minutes. You have an hour and 40 minutes left. That's a long time. No, it's not long enough. All right, are we good? Do you find it? Yeah? Okay. All right. I'm going to move on to the CSS. So we're going to use Flex. We're going to play around with Flex on here. And we're going to do some fun CSS stuff. Okay, yeah.
Quick question, how'd you get all the divs again?
All I can do is laugh sometimes, all right? That's it. No, it's okay. So I'm using Emmet. Okay, this is not something built into HTML or CSS, but this is that very first package I had you guys install.
Yeah. I just didn't see what you typed in.
Oh, all right. Section, and then this greater than sign, this caret, right? This caret means a direct descendant. Okay, and this is CSS notation, right? But it means a direct descendant. So it's like the first thing you put in is the parent, and then if you use a caret, the next thing has to be a child of that parent. It can't be a descendant, so it can't be like nested. It can't be a grandchild or great-grandchild or whatever, right? To use, illustrative but not exactly correct terms. It has to be a child. It won't go any further than that. Okay. If I was to, well, it won't work this way, but if I was to leave it blank like this, a space, it would apply to every single div inside of section. Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, whatever, all the divs. Okay? This is just first level. All right. And then times 10. So it's like, okay, create a container that's a section with 10 direct descendants that are divs, is what this is saying. Okay? Cool. Hit tab. Oops. Hit tab at the end of it. And boom. All right. Okay. All right, on to CSS. That's all the HTML you need.
So it's section. Sorry. Darn it.
Do you need the formula back up?
Section.
Greater than sign.
Greater than sign
Div times 10.
10.
Or 20 or whatever you want. Just don't go crazy with it. All right. So then we just come over to our CSS. Okay. And then I've made it. And then it's a good idea to give it a class so you can refer to it in CSS. Class boxes. All right, so then we're going to say boxes. I'm kind of a stickler for organizing my files, so I'm going to put a header in here. You don't necessarily need to. Display, flex fun, comment it out. The shortcut for commenting. So if you have a chunk, so commenting is a way of putting notes inside of your code that will not be compiled. Okay, that the browser will ignore, right? But that are useful for other people to read. So I use it for like organizing the CSS into like sections. So like if I have one CSS file that serves lots of different pages, then I'll say, okay, all the specific CSS for like page 1 is here, and I'll put a little header that says page 1, right? And then etc. for page 2 and 3, and then maybe I have all the general junk at the top or whatever. What this is good for is if your CSS file gets super long, like thousands and thousands of lines, you can just do like Command F and type in the section name, and it'll go right to it. Does that make sense? Okay, it's just organization. So the shortcut for commenting is Command /. So you just type in some text. I usually do it all caps because I write all of my CSS in lowercase. The case of your CSS doesn't matter. You can write it in uppercase or lowercase. If you want to have all caps and have CSS that shouts, that's fine. If you want CSS that whispers, lowercase.
Can you do the flex
something again that turned it gray?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right now.
Yeah, I know. Something.
Command forward slash.
Oh.
Command. So you highlight your text, you type your text out, you make sure that you have it all selected,
Oh,
okay,
cool.
and then command forward slash.
We thought you said command add, and it like pulled up.
Command F. That's Command F is your find.
Yeah.
That's your find function, which you will also use in the future. But okay, good. So flex fun. I'm just organizing here. So boxes. Okay, so boxes needs to have display flex set to it because it's the container for all the divs, right? I can make it a little bigger. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. So boxes, display flex. So all of these divs will now be side by side. But if we go look at the page now, what do you think is going to happen? It's what? There's not going to be anything there. Why is there not going to be anything there? Exactly. There's no content. All the divs are empty. We've set nothing for the divs. Okay. Good. Good. Let's set also flex wrap because we have lots of items to wrap. That'll push the items to the next line. Then we can sort of go outside of boxes right now and start playing with the divs.
Is it always semicolon, colon when you do like?
Yes, when you end a line, I'm sorry, that's something that's like breathing to me. To end a line in CSS, there's always a semicolon. Okay.
And can you remind me how if something doesn't get highlighted on here, how you highlight it so it does show up? So it works.
Go to the line above it and make sure you have a semicolon at the end of that line.
It didn't highlight my flex wrap.
Because you didn't spell flex right.
Oh, I spelled it out.
It's always a typo. It's always gonna be a typo. It's never just a case of the browser or the editors being like, no, I don't feel like doing this today. Sadly, it'll get there, I'm sure, but yeah. Okay. Anyway, what was I doing? Yeah. So now we're gonna play with the divs of boxes, but we haven't set IDs for them or anything, which is totally cool. We're just going to do boxes div. So there's that caret again, that greater than sign. So we're saying go inside class boxes and find all the direct divs, all the divs that are directly children, right? That first level, direct descendants. Okay, and then do your curlies, and then inside your curlies, we'll put our settings for our divs. Okay, we're going to give them all a width, so they have a width. We're going to give that width. So we have 10 of them. Let's do like 30% of the viewport width, so 30 VW. Viewport width. All right. They also need a height. Okay. So we'll do height. Let's keep them square. So we'll do 30 VW, viewport width. We're not going to do viewport height because that gives us a different value, right? Because the height of the browser, remember this is the browser, the viewport. The height of the browser is different than the width of the browser. Does that make sense? I mean, it seems pretty straightforward, right? They're different things. But when we want to, if we want to have a square, we need to keep it in the same units.
So if you did viewport height, what would happen?
You would just get a different height. You'd have a rectangle. Because it's taking the actual height of the browser and giving you 30% of that.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to be different than the width of your browser window.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right, good. I don't know why they didn't make it like BW, browser window. That makes more sense to me. But I guess not all viewports are browsers, so although they kind of are by default, browsing and showing the internet. But anyway, I'm not on the standards committee, sadly. We'd never get anything done. All right, so now if you save it, actually let's do this. Let's save it and then open in browser. So we have lots of space down here. You should have lots of space down here, but you shouldn't be able to see anything. Should be nothing there. Everyone got that?
No.
Nope? Okay, good.
I did something wrong.
Okay, that's fine. We'll fix it. You're going to get time to work on your own in just a few minutes. All right? If you don't have it, that's cool. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it.
What?
All right.
Oh,
So
so
you shouldn't be able to see anything. You should have a lot of space. Okay? Cool? All right.
what?
Don't worry about it right now. Okay. So let's give them all a color. So we'll just do background color, and then you can bring up your color picker, which is Command-Shift-C if you installed that.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know.
If you didn't install it, maybe you should install it.
Wait,
Did you guys not install that?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Let me bring up my settings real quick.
I was gonna say I can do one.
Here, all right. Let's find it. Native color picker. So everybody, go to your settings. Go to install.
How do you get the settings?
If you're on a Mac, it's Command comma. If you're on Windows, I do not remember.
Wait, what?
Ah,
I thought I installed it.
Okay. So then go to install under settings over on the left, and then what you're looking for is native color picker
I'm sorry.
by Gregor Olson.
well, that's like 2,400.
Yes, downloads.
So we're
It's about to have 2,412.
Is it the one made by Greg?
Gregor Olson. Yep.
Wait, so how do you pull up the color picker?
Command-Shift-C. If you have it installed, it's Command-Shift-C.
What?
Wait, oh, I got it. Maybe.
Yeah, it should bring up your OS 10 color picker, the native.
I'm assuming it's
Okay.
Control-Shift-C for Windows.
Should be. No. So this is actually gonna be different because this is a OS 10 native color picker, so it only works on Macs.
How did you open
Um,
Alright.
hold on, Nikki.
No, wait, sorry. How do you open settings?
It's
Is-
like command.
So if you're on Windows, any one of these just simple color pickers are gonna work. Yeah, Control-Alt-C, I guess, on Windows. Right, or there's a right click. This has more people, This has more people that download it, so maybe it's better. I'm gonna install this one, and uninstall the other one.
Wait, I just googled it.
You can do whichever one you want, as long as it works. Yeah.
What if it doesn't pop up like it's giving you
Go to install, not packages. If you go to packages, that's all the packages you have installed right now. All right, I'm gonna disable my OS 10 color picker. Oops. All right, so Command-Shift-C. Ooh, that's gross. Oh, I don't like that. I like the crayons. I really do like the crayons. I mean, this is nice. This is fine. No crayons.
I think it's what people are more used to.
Ugh, I like crayons. Anyway, all right. Crayons give you a nice, like, they're just like built-in swatches. You know, you have steps of color to work with. I like that. All right. Anyway, so pick a background color. Yeah.
This looks like using the switch notation.
Hex.
You
Hex.
choose your notation.
You want hex. Yeah. So if you're using this color picker, like if you're on Windows and you use this color picker, and you're not, or you're just using the, Wait, guys. All right, everybody listen. Listen, it's really important that you use your hex notation. So if you're using this color picker, this ugly square that has no crayons, because it's boring. Come here. Come back. Where'd you go? All right. See these tabs up at the top? They default to RGB, which is this is the value it's going to fill in here. You can use RGB, but I don't want you to yet. All right. I want everyone to use hex, which is the second tab. Okay. So use hex. It should give you a hash and then 6 alphanumeric characters. So letters and numbers.
So our color picker should automatically pop up when we type in background color?
Nope. Command-Shift-C or for you, Control-Alt-C.
Whoa, why is my color picker not doing?
I have no idea. I'll find out though.
Wait, it's not giving me the standard hex numbers.
Which color picker are you using?
The native.
Should give you standard hex.
Or is it? I'm not sure anymore. You know that. Is that it?
Yeah, you just gotta put a hex on it.
What is it?
Or not a hex, but a hash. Pound sign. Okay. So find a way to give your boxes background colors. That's a fun one. Let's use that one. All right. And then Pigment should show you a little dot. Your Pigment plugin should show you a little dot of what that color is. All right. So now if we come back here and refresh the page, we should have one giant box with a little tail.
Whoa.
Okay?
Why did mine highlight it?
Yeah, mine did that.
It highlighted it instead of giving you a dot. That's just because you haven't set a pigments setting to show you the dot. It's fine. The highlight is fine.
I'm going crazy.
If you don't see that color, it's because you don't have pigment installed for some reason. Okay, so if you go back to your page, you should see something approximating this. Yeah? Yeah? Are we good? Sweet. Okay. All right. Now this is fun. This is fine, but it's a giant blob, right? It's kind of boring. It's like, well, okay, what's the point of having this color like this? And how come there's this giant space over here, right? That's because we haven't added any spacing rules to these divs. All right. Now remember, we do that under boxes. This is that justify content that I was talking about, and we're going to do space between. Okay. Justify content, space between, under class boxes, the parent.
I'm getting frustrated.
I'll give you a hand when we're done here in a second. All right, I'm going to jump back. See how that moved over? Now we have 3 big columns. Okay? All right. We have 3 big columns because it's just doing the space in between them. Right? It's not doing space top and bottom as well.
So that would actually be like 3 on top of each other.
Yeah, this is the boxes sitting on top of each other and touching. Okay? If we want to be able to see each individual boxes, we change this to space around. Oh, no, we don't. Hold on. Sorry. Sorry. That was my bad. Oh, yeah, we got to add padding. Sorry. Keep that at space between. That was totally my fault. All right. No, this is good because this now pushes us into a conversation about padding and margin. The 2 different ways of adding space to elements. Okay. Let's make sure that this works. Hold on. This is what you should have. I'm going to use space.
How did you get the 3 columns again?
I'm going to use space between. Oh, Nikki, I'll help you in just a second. I'm going to use space between. I prefer space between. It's just the way I do things. You can use space around if you want, but it gives you a false sense of alignment on the left and the right. That's why I don't like it. Yeah, no, not right now. Not right now. So as long as you have something, as long as you have 3 columns, all right. One of them is going to be a little longer than the other, but as long as you have 3 columns, and yours might not be longer than the other. Okay, could be a little different, but it probably is longer than the other. As long as you have this, you're golden for now. Okay, you're good. All right, everyone more or less has this. Yeah. Who does not have this? 3 of you. Okay.
What did you do? I actually missed what you did to make it 3 columns.
I know, I got the columns somewhere.
Oh.
Everything else
Also, I really couldn't figure out the size.
Okay, so flex is not meeting. Okay, go to the top of your HTML. I got one big one. The beers. Yeah. Put that on. It's a trick. We're blind and stays. What do you say? We're blind. Yeah. Alright, so it's not. I wanted to make sure it's automatic. Alright, go back to your browser. There you go.
Where are you? Now the column totally down.
There's no way.
4. It's due in 50.
Yeah.
I'll turn it off.
Wait,
Oh my gosh, deadlines are so arbitrary. Don't worry about it.
vanished now.
Oh, go back. I know. There you go.
Wait, the column was there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, no, see. I thought you were talking about computer science. Yeah, it was.
Oh.
It's still.
Wait.
Oh, no, foundation in computer science.
Okay.
Did you really follow the coding project? She just was like,
Just go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Andre did.
It was like,
Yeah, no. That was awful.
Display flex. Oh, you have to
No, it was like
there.
intro to your science.
There you go. Save it.
Whatever.
Alright,
that is.
so
What
I
about
have
HTML
this.
and
Is anything wrong with that?
No, no, go back.
You didn't understand when my public school didn't teach me how to code.
No, he's,
And like, cause I went to school and like, nowhere.
That is from backpack challenge. Yeah, it was awesome.
is it working now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, I did that. I copied his website.
Probably
Little
spelled
trick.
something wrong.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is when you mouse over.
Oh.
This is the last thing.
No, not everybody.
Just you have to wait.
Yeah, I will.
Right.
it wasn't working like before I did.
Color it.
Yeah, I know.
Nice. Pretty legit. Something. Yeah, I kind of want to do like where I have a picture, each column, like have a description on it, so like I don't know.
Well, that's how it's set up for.
Right. Like make the boxes below small.
Oh, I thought they all stayed together.
You're gonna have to scroll down.
Oh, so that's an easy way.
It's throwing a huge text in those individual tips.
Love this.
Even then you probably want to yeah, sure. Good. Everybody else is good? Everybody has 3 columns? Yeah? Alright, cool. So do we have kind of like a basic idea of how Flex is working now? Right? How it's moving stuff around? Okay. We're going to do one more thing in CSS just to get some different colors of what?
I'm sorry. Why did it make 3 columns again? Exactly.
Because we set width to be 30% of each box, and you have a maximum of 100%, so that we can only fit 3 boxes. Good. That was a good question. All right, so we're gonna do a little tiny bit of CSS magic to get every other box to be a different color. Okay, give us a checkerboard so that we can easily see the differences between each individual box. Cool. Everybody's good with that? Yeah? Alright. Nobody wants to argue about making different colored boxes? Come on. No? I don't want to do it! Alright, fine. Yeah. Uniformity. Alright. So this is just a little bit of CSS. It's going to be its own thing. So we're going to do boxes, div, and then this is called a, what is it called? A pseudo class. Sorry. I blanked for a second. This is called the CSS pseudo class. All right. So what it means is it's like it's something that's only true in certain conditions. Okay. Pseudo classes are used for like hover states. So if you move your mouse over something, right, and it changes because the mouse is over it, that's called a hover state. Okay. There's things like active or target, but we're going to be using something like called nth child. Okay. Nth being a placeholder. I love saying the word nth. It sounds like I have a lisp. Nth. Sorry if you have a lisp. I'm not making fun of you. Anyone have a lisp? No. I had a lisp when I was a kid. I did speech therapy, so it's just fun to do it again. Anyway, nth child. I'm not gonna say that. You made me feel bad. How you set up? I am a terrible, terrible person.
Do you remember what your list was like?
What?
Do you remember what your list was
Not really. I was really young. Yeah, I was really young. How we set up a pseudo class is you need to target the elements that you want. You need to write out the elements that you want to target. Okay, so we're doing all the divs inside of class boxes. Okay, so just like we did when we set their settings, class boxes, direct descendant div. Now we're setting up a pseudo class for that. So same thing, boxes, direct descendant div, and then we use a colon to say, okay, now we have a pseudo class. So colon nth child. Now you can see there's a bunch of different kinds of nths that you can use. All right. Sadly, there's no tree beard. I like I left it out. Nth sounds like nths in my head. So anyway, More jokes! Yay! Oh boy, I need more sleep. So, nth child. There's also nth last child. That's a times n plus b. There's little math equations. All right. We're not going to worry too much right now about what each of those is doing. Yeah.
So these are affecting the same divs that are affected by our with height.
Correct.
Section 2. So why do we not include it in that?
Because we only want to have these affect certain ones,
Okay.
and we're going to set that up. We're setting that up with
Like a
nth
var-
child.
It's like a variable.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So if you know what variables are, and the pseudo classes are kind of like variables, but not. Okay. So, it's useful if you understand what a variable does, right? It's not useful if you don't understand what a variable does, which I guess is like life, right? You need that on a shirt. So nth child, we're going to use the nth child. We will eventually talk about the rest of these. Now with nth child, I'm actually going to go to the Mozilla stuff for it. So let's go nth child, CSS. Oh, what is that? CSS tricks. Oh, hey, CSS tricks has something about nth child. Let's look at that. CSS tricks is written by a human, whereas like Mozilla descriptions are written by programmers that have become robots, essentially. What I mean by that is like if you go to Mozilla and you're reading about like what something does, odds are at first glance you're just gonna be like, what the hell are they talking about? Why can't they just tell me what the hell this stupid thing does? Why? Right? And you're gonna get mad, and you're gonna throw your computer, or you're gonna throw something at your computer, and it's gonna not end well. So CSS tricks, it's written by someone who still remembers what it's like to be a person. Okay? Yeah, Chris Coyer. Thank you, Chris. Anyway, so I will add this link also to Blue Line. Anyone know Chris Coyer? I don't know. But anyway, he's got a nice description of how nth child works. It's a pseudo selector. Okay, sorry, not a pseudo class, pseudo selector. But 3n plus n. So n is always like where you start. Okay. If you want to set up evens, which is what we're gonna do, you can just type in even. That works, or you can type in like 2, or even numbers. Odd would then be like the odd numbers. But we want to select every even. Okay. So we want every odd number, every odd div in this list of divs, 1 through 10, to have our default div settings. And then every even number to have these new settings that we're going to set up under our pseudo selector. Okay? So we'll type in even. Oops, not that. And broke it. So I think it's even.
So
We're gonna find out.
The equation
Hmm?
in parentheses.
Yes. Yep. So yeah. So we're just gonna change the background color. Okay. I don't care what you change it to. I have like a purple. Let's do a yellow. That's really bright. Let's tone that down a little bit. All right. Not RGB. Remember to go to hex. Why wouldn't it not default to hex? That makes more sense. All right, this should work. I think we did that right. I think you can just write even, can't you? No, I forget. I might have to do 2n plus 1. Or sorry.
Oh, hey, look at that.
Did it work? Oh, good. All right.
Are we supposed to have spaces between?
Hey, it worked. Sweet.
Oh, no, we're not. Okay.
Yeah, so you should not have space between top and bottom, but you should between left and right. Okay? So that's magic. That's like CSS magic. I love this stuff. I love it. I love it. So let's add something else, right? Let's make all the yellow ones circles. Want to do that? Yeah? All right. So,
What did I do wrong?
all right, so to get the yellow, right? All we're doing to get the yellow is we're targeting boxes, all the divs inside boxes, and then we're using a pseudo selector called nth child, right? Nth is a variable, just blank. It's like whatever child you happen to be on. We're grabbing the evens. Okay, that's the what's in parentheses is the setting for nth child. Okay, so we're grabbing the evens, and we're just changing the background color of all the even numbered divs inside boxes. All the odd numbered divs keep the default settings that we set. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? Good? Okay. Now let's make all the yellow ones circles. So new line. Now how you get circles, all divs have a setting called border radius. Okay. By default, border radius is set to 0, which means there is no radius, which gives you a square, right? You don't have a radius at the borders, which just means the corners of your div. You get a right angle, nice little sharp point. Okay, gives us our squares or rectangles. Gives us our edges, right? If you set your border radius to anything over 0, that's going to start curving those corners. Okay. You set it to 50 and set it in percentages. Okay. You set it to 50, that is going to do a complete curve from the middle point of one edge to the middle point of the other edge, which is going to give you a circle. All right, let's illustrate that. So border radius. So we'll do 25% to start. Come back. So now it's taking a middle point in the horizontal and vertical edges. It's taking both those points, and it's essentially drawing a curve. So this is a 25% curve. It comes 25% of the way from the middle point, and then starts the curve until it gets to 25% of the other point. Does that make sense? Yeah? So if we have a box, you have to imagine this, but on the boxes, we have points on the corners, and then points in the middle, okay? So if you think in terms of like Illustrator, drawing a vector object. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 points, okay? When you draw radiuses, you're trying to figure out the distance from the middle point to this edge point to start drawing the radius, okay? And it actually, 0 is here, 50 is here, okay? Now here's a fun thing too. When we just set border radius, it applies to all the corners. But you can set, I think you can set border radius for border top left radius, border top right radius. You should be able to just do top, right? I thought you could do top. Border top radius? Nope, you can't. Oh, you can't do top. All right. So you can play around. You can set different values for the different corners. Right? So border top left radius, I'm going to set to 30%. And watch what this, actually, let's just do 50. So that gives us very different shapes, right? So you can do a lot of drawing. You can do a lot of drawing in CSS. You just got to think in terms of math. There's a lot of animation you can do in CSS nowadays too, which we will do later in the semester. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. When it clicks, it just becomes a joy to do. Yeah. Not today. No. No. So you can safely ignore everything on blue line right now. Okay.
Are we still turning that in?
No, you're not turning it in. I'm gonna turn that off. We're making it up as we go. Every web design class that I teach is always a little different because I try to go off of like the speed that you guys are going at. Okay. Because it's important that you all understand what we're doing before we go any further. Later on in the semester, it'll become a little more rigorous. It can be like, okay, we have this project, it's due now. But at this moment, this is all the foundation stuff. And really, if you get tripped up now, you're going to have a hard time later in the semester. Okay? So you're going to want to come see me. Because I will help you understand this stuff. All right? Anyway, so do we understand border radius? Do we get what it's doing? Right? You can set different values for the different corners. All right. So you can make whatever shape you want to right now, or you can just do circles. If you just do circles, just set border radius 50. That will give you circles. But see, this gives us different shapes. I want to talk about margin and padding now. All right. These are two different ways of adding space between elements. This is also very important because it's not super intuitive. Right? Padding is one of those things that is frustrating. still frustrating to me because, yeah, it's just not handled intuitively. All right, so we're ready? Everybody good? Yeah? Okay. All right. So, what are we gonna do? Let's turn on a border value. So we're gonna set a default setting here. We're gonna set border, which is just gonna draw a line. Okay. So we're gonna do border. Now there's a couple different settings we're gonna throw into border. Okay. I want a solid border, so I'm just gonna type in solid. Then we can do a width. So this first setting we set is the type of border that we want. Solid and dotted are the two most common. Okay, so dotted will give you dashed lines. For now, we're just gonna use solid. Then we're gonna do a width. Okay, this is under the default settings for the divs. We're gonna do a width. You set the width in pixels. I'm gonna do, let's go 5 pixels. You set whatever you want. Just make sure you can see it. Okay. Yeah. Sure. Yep. And then I'm gonna set a color. We set our color in hex value. I'm going to set, black. Right? Black is zeros. Another fun thing about CSS shorthand, setting just 3 hex values is the same thing as setting 6, because it's just going to repeat the first 3. Okay. So shorthand for the hex color of black or white. Black is 000, white is FFF. Okay. All right. Hey, we have C, or not C, but we have YMK. Now we just need a C. All right, we're gonna do something that's cyan, magenta, CMYK. Color theory nerds, where are you? There we go. All right, so make sure you save, and then you can jump back to your page, and now we should have borders. All right, we need the borders so that it's easy to see what padding and margin are doing. Okay.
What did I do?
Borders.
Is that just not like aesthetically? That is.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Just love it.
Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not working.
We're really happy. So wonder why I know who's
Thank you.
Yo.
Okay, go back to.
This is true. I have shapes. I have shapes. It's literally just gonna be like have a big over like basketball shapes.
She just made patterns.
Yeah, there should be an inside.
Yeah, mine was.
That's pink and yellow.
Just because it shows.
I do think maybe relationships.
DZ.
Is that the right standard?
Yes, they
Yeah. Make sure that you've got. See how I.
Yeah.
Like you should really.
Yeah.
I know, it's like I've been like guided through it all, but right now I'm like, how I'm
Well, I understand it.
Good.
You know.
You got.
like I definitely was like, I'm gonna be like lost, like when I'm tribes, like I actually get like acronym and I'm like,
Past coding experience makes me cry. Like when I have to figure it out on my own.
well, like I haven't taken
Right.
Yo.
Oh, juice
Good.
is like.
Good.
I literally just like laid in my bed and sobbed. I did.
That's the ones that we had to make in digital foundations.
Oh, that was awful. I sat in Penny's office for like 2.5 hours.
Alone by yourself? That was weird.
Oh no, when I had to do
Dreamweaver
Dreamweaver,
is hard.
She like literally had to redo it.
Dreamweaver is hard.
It was for like 2 hours.
It was so.
We should just take the
I just didn't know where to start.
Alright,
I was
so do you have
lost.
boards?
What did I do? write this wrong.
And I was
Oh,
like, try
that's
to
cool.
I started off with it like when I took a
All right.
coding classes.
Okay, so everybody has borders on their shapes? Because we got 15 minutes, you got no time to work on your own, I'm sorry. Okay, so now we're going to talk about padding and margin. Maybe take notes on this part, or at least put it into your code. You know, you could write your notes into your code as a comment or something like that. So padding and margin are two ways to add spaces between elements. Okay. The padding. Well, let's start with margin. Margin's the easy one. Margin will push all the other elements away. So if you add margin to one element, it's going to push the other elements away. All right. Like all things in CSS, there is a top, right, bottom, and left value. And you always start at the top. It's like the clock. You start in the top and you go clockwise. Okay? Top, right, bottom, left. Okay? So there's margin top, right, margin bottom, margin left. Or you can just set margin and then give it 4 values. You can give it more, but we're just going to focus on 4. Okay? You can give it 4 values and it will take the first value and apply that to the top, the second one to the right, the third to the bottom, and the fourth value to the left. Okay? Okay, I'm going to add margin to these, and we're going to see that it's going to push, it's going to give us space here. Okay? So I'm going to do it to the default here. Margin. Let's do some space here. So margin, I'm doing one value, and one line of margin. I'm going to set all 4 of my values. Let's go. We're going to do it in rems. So let's go 1 rem, 1 rem. Well, actually, let's do more left and right. Well, first, wait. First, we're just going to give it 1 value. If we set margin and we just do 1 value, it applies that 1 value we gave it to all 4 directions. Top, right, bottom, left. Or sides, I should say, not directions. I think in terms of them as like north, east, south, west. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. So we save it, jump back to the page, reload it. That messes up flex wrap because now there's more space being pushed. So everything should get pushed down to new lines. Should end up with probably 2 columns.
Oh, one
Unless
side
you-
squares, one side circles.
Yep.
It's like the graph one.
That's just because of the way the math worked out. Right? Okay. So everyone has that. Like your default, your squares should be on one side, and your other shape should be on the other side. Unless you're dealing with just circles, then you're gonna have one color on one side and one color on the other
I'm
side.
sorry,
I just did margin. If it didn't work for you or you don't know what's going on, just listen and pay attention. I'll help you through it after. So, all right, everyone understands kind of what happened here? We got some space in between the lines now, okay? That's that 1 rem. Remember, 1 rem refers back to the root element. That's where you get rem, R-E-M, root element, okay? It refers to the font size of the root element. The root element is the HTML tag. So whatever the font size is for your HTML page, which is usually set by the browser, not by you, although you can set it, and is generally, like 90% of standard browsers are going to have it at 16 pixels. Okay? Everyone's good with that? So just keep the number 16 in your mind. Okay? So 1 rem is generally 16 pixels. Not always, but usually. Okay? All right. So that gave us about 16 pixels of space here, but also added 16 pixels of space on the left and the right. That 16 pixels of space plus the width that these have to be is what pushed the third element, the third box, to the next line. Pushed every odd number box to the next line. Okay? So that's what gives us our columns. All right. If you want to see that in your browser, you can right-click on it, go to Inspect Element, right-click on the page, go to Inspect Element, and then highlight over a div. And that orange outline, this orange outline is the margin that's being applied. So using your web inspector tools in the browser, which is this menu or this feature that I brought up, okay, by inspecting, this will highlight padding and margin. Margin shows up as orange, padding shows up as purple. Just remember purple padding, right? Maybe they should have done magenta. I guess that's probably too close to purple. I don't know. Anyway, just remember purple padding. All right. Margin, see how it's being applied to the outside. Notice, though, it's not being applied to the outside of where the border is. It's ignoring the border. It's being applied to the outside of the color. If you can't see that, I'll zoom in. Oops. All right. Here. All right, so can everybody see that? How right here, this orange highlight is inside of that border? Okay, borders get put to the outside of the divs that they're in. They don't stay on the inside of the width of the div. So this background color is our 30% of the viewport width, okay? The blue is the 30%. The border is added on to that. So it's actually bigger than 30%. Does that make sense? Your margin will go off of the blue, not the border, okay? That also makes sense? Borders can overlap, right? Like if I made my border something ridiculous, like 100 pixels, they would all overlap. They wouldn't push each other away. The elements would push each other away, but the borders wouldn't, okay? Does that make sense? It's not intuitive. That's why it might be a little difficult to understand at first. Okay, so padding. What padding is going to do, let me zoom out. Let's add some padding. So we'll go padding, and padding works the same way. You can set it individually for the side, top, right, bottom, left, or you can set one value for padding just by doing padding and then one value. So I'm going to add padding, 1 rem. So I'm going to add 16 pixels of padding. Now the boxes got bigger. Okay. Now the reason the boxes get bigger, let me mouse over one here. The reason the boxes get bigger is because the padding actually increases the space of the div, which then it increases like the inside space of the div, because what it's doing is it's pushing from the edge inwards. But the way the browser renders that is to just make the box bigger, which is dumb. Okay? This is a problem with modern browsers. They do not show padding in an intuitive way. It is broken. Okay? No, it literally, they know it's broken, but everybody knows that it's broken, and everybody's pages are designed in a way to take that into account. So if they were to fix it, they would just screw up everybody. Like everybody would have to redesign a ton of pages. Okay? Almost every website that uses anything with padding would have to get redesigned. Okay? So you've all heard about how Internet Explorer is like a terrible web browser, right? That's just like in the air. Internet Explorer, horrible web browser, has always been a horrible web browser. The one thing Internet Explorer did right was to not show padding this way. It actually would keep the width, the 30% or whatever value the width was set at, and actually push the elements. It would squish the elements inside of that div. All right? So if margin pushes out, padding pushes in. But because browsers are broken in the way that they show that, it arbitrarily makes the div bigger, the value that you set for padding. So we just made our div, 16 pixels bigger on either side. Well, technically 32, right? Because you got to double that. But so this inside highlight is our padding. This is our actual div. Okay. This is that 30% that we did for our div. Our border is always going to be drawn on the outside of our background color. Padding made that bigger. It's so dumb, right? Because I can see everyone's like, what? That makes no sense. It's just something you have to accept. Yeah.
But do you have to use it?
Do you have to use padding?
Are there instances where...
Yes, there are instances where you will use it. I can show you, actually let's look at the JMC page. I will show you a bunch of instances where I used it. Right. So, for instance, in this box right here, right? This is the parent container, and then these are a bunch of children inside that parent container, right? In order to get this spacing around those children, I added padding to the parent. It made the parent bigger, but it gave me nice space. You just have to take it into consideration. You have to know that it's going to do it, and then account for it. It's like driving a car that always leans a little to the left. You just pull a little more to the right. Yeah.
So you can't, so if you want to make a box bigger, you can't just set the width down.
No, you can set the width. But if you have stuff inside of it, right, and you want that stuff to have kind of a nice spacing around it, You can either, there's a couple ways to handle it, right? Maybe adding padding. Doing it the way I did it is perhaps not the best future-proof way to do it. It's just the way I did it. But a better way to maybe do this to make sure that I get even padding would be to have this container as a parent, the white border, and then have these elements also inside of a container that holds them in an invisible parent, right? And then position that invisible parent in relation to the white border.
Okay.
That would be a better way to do it.
So the padding is the space between the text and the outside of the box.
Right. Whereas margin goes from the border out, padding goes from the border in.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's a better way to think about it.
That makes lots of sense.
All right. Padding will make your divs look bigger, though. Okay. Margin won't. Margin, they'll look exactly the width they're supposed to be. Padding, they're going to get bigger according to how much padding you've given them. All right, in whatever dimension. Top right, bottom left. Cool? Yeah? Okay. All right, I'm going to stop recording.